softly. We have a quorum. So I'll, I'll call the meeting to order at 8:33. Certification of open meeting requirements have been met. This has been posted. Agendas have been out. Roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Becker here.
Galazowski here.
Severson here.
Okay, I got everybody. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Has
Aye.
everybody, okay, sorry. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our previous meeting? Are there any
Yes.
correction? Okay, are there any corrections? Hearing that there are none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the 1/3/23 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right. We'll leave 2 minutes for public comment. If anybody out there has anything they would like to address this committee with, you can call at 715-538-1770. And anybody in this room who has something they want to say? There was a moonlight snowshoe hike, walk, sledding at the trails in Strum over the weekend, and it was the Rod and Gun and Nikki Rindall. She's worked so hard on that, getting it going, and I believe it was a success. Hopefully we'll have more of those.
I believe, so I had, you'll hear about this more in my report,
Okay.
but I had a photographer on Saturday
Oh,
in the
fun.
county, and I told him about that, and it looked like he got a couple pictures from up there. He sent me a sample pack of his pictures.
Okay, good.
But yeah, that's, it looked like a fun activity.
Good.
If you want some. If you would, I had my son bring his drone to the contest on Sunday in Independence. And he went up this one side and came back down, and he went and he actually took some movies and some just still pictures. So I'm going to see how they turn out. If they're kind of good, I might bring them up to you and let you look at them, see if you want to use them for anything. But it was a nice day. The sun was out, so it's a good contrast to all those little fishing shacks, you know, with all the different colors against that white snow.
My photographer got some pictures of that too with the drone, and it just looked like little drops of paint all over the ice, you know, up and down. So it was.
If there are no other comments or calls, I will move to number 7, Economic Development and Tourism Report. Off to you, Mr. Carlson.
Well, we'll just address the elephant in the room. Obviously, I am injured again. I had surgery last week again on the foot, so it's going to limit my mobility for the next few weeks, at least here. But I really wanted to get in this morning for the meeting, so here I am. One interesting thing of note that just happened yesterday was there was a call, a webinar with the State Broadband Office at the Public Service Commission. They're going to be putting out a opportunity for counties and local units of government to apply for planning grants for doing broadband expansion in their counties. I took a few notes on it. I'm just going to run through here. Really, they're looking the first priority is to expand in areas that don't have at least 25 by 3 service, which is 25 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload. Really 100 by 20, 100 download, 20 upload is sort of the aspirational standard. So these planning grants are going to be funded by the bipartisan infrastructure or bill, law that was passed by Congress. When all is said and done, they're expecting so the planning grant is going to be a smaller pot of money, right, that's going to go out. They're still waiting on a funding formula for the actual money to do improvements itself, but they're expecting that could be upwards of $800 million to $1 billion for Wisconsin alone. So really what's critical right now is these BEAD grants, broadband expansion access something. These are going to be grants that are going to be awarded sometime this year. And I just am bringing this up because they're really kind of pushing for if there's a way you can do some regional planning. There's like a little bonus. So like say Trempealeau County otherwise would get, $50,000. I'm just making up numbers. But if we worked with like a multi-county consortium or worked, say, through Seven Rivers Alliance, which is our regional economic development organization, then the counties, whatever their allocation was that would be in that consortium, would get a 10% like bonus on the grant. So they're trying to encourage some cooperation. Chris Hardy from Seven Rivers Alliance was on the call yesterday. He and I messaged during the meeting that we'd be talking on this. So there's going to be a forthcoming letter of intent from the broadband office that's being sent to counties. And there were some questions, including from me on the call yesterday, as to who that would be directed to, because there's kind of a time limit as to when counties have to say, yeah, we're opting in, we want to apply for one of these planning grants, and that's like March 15th. So they said that was going to be going to county administrators and county elected officials. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that each county board supervisor is going to get a letter, or if the county board chair and the county administrator, which of course we don't have, will get a letter. But anyways, I just am bringing that up for those of you who are on the county board, that may be coming. And because I don't have a ton of information on it, my thought was maybe it's something that when we get that letter in hand and we have that opt-in that we need to do by March 7th, is that something that the county board may need to take action on to authorize us to, apply for a grant type of thing. So I'm bringing it up. I'll be tracking that. They said that in the call yesterday they would send those letters also to any county economic development people. Jeannie?
I was just thinking, I could be wrong, but I don't think you need permission from the board to apply for a grant. You guys apply for grants all the time. A lot of people do.
Yeah, I understand that and I appreciate it, but, you always want to see what the commitments are.
Right,
and stuff. And so anyways, I thought I'd bring that up. I hadn't
Okay.
even had a chance to talk to Mike about that yet, but it is something we'll be tracking. I know this position in the past, there was some expectation of trying to pull together, some broadband planning. The good news is I saw the note for this, or the notice for this webinar last week, and Buck Webb from TCC, was right on that, and he was emailing me saying, hey, just want to make sure you're aware of this. So, I'm sure they would be an excellent partner, and that's the thing. They want ISPs, internet service providers, and the local units of government to work together on these things. So if it's something that looks like it's going to require county board action, I would definitely make Mike aware of that, and then we'd look to maybe get that on the February agenda.
I'd have to look back at my mail, but I think we got something from WCA about this. I could be wrong.
They might have
we
said it was.
We get a gazillion emails from them
Yeah,
every
they might
day,
have given a
so-
heads up that this was coming. So the webinar was held yesterday. There's actually another related webinar on Thursday. I'll be on that one too, because broadband expansion certainly is something that we have to do.
Oh my
and
gosh,
it
yeah.
and it does fuel economic development, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Just quick. there's quite a few townships already that are looking into this and applied for it. TCC has done quite a couple townships already.
Yep.
They're already done.
Yep.
Naples, I think, is one of them, and now they're up in Alma, town of Alma, and they got 3 or 4, and they have, I think, 3 or 4 other ones that are into the state right now to get. It's, I don't know if it's 50-50, but it's something similar to that. But the state's been pretty good. But yeah, you got to have them in.
Yeah, the whole point
quick
of
here.
the whole point, as I understand it, of this latest grant opportunity is to have it so that you're making plans on projects that you would do if you had the money, because basically you want to get shovel ready, as they call it, plans, and then when that money gets released in, I think they're expecting it to be about 2 years, then the grant, if you have projects that are ready to roll, you're going to get the money. So this is kind of a critical phase here to figure out what are those next steps in terms of expanding, where are we going to go.
Your supply chain's a big
Yep.
problem with that too.
Yep,
Getting the fiber.
yep.
Sounds great.
And other than that, well, I was mobile for about a month. I did start getting back out and doing some business visits again, so that felt good. Otherwise, I did have a photo shoot over the weekend, as I alluded to, and I am going to see if I can be technologically savvy here and share my screen. Hang on a second here. There we go. And where do I want to? No, that's your presentation. We don't want that. Okay. So I do have a few. I'm hopefully gonna. Oh yeah, I think I can do this here. A second here. So I did mention I had a photographer that came in over the weekend and took some pictures of winter activities, but it's the same photographer I had back in the fall to do a fall photo shoot. So I'm just going to show you some pictures from the fall and the winter combined here. Again, what we were trying to do was, go for pictures of people, enjoying things in the county. So, obviously dining. That was a martini, and it tasted good. No, yeah, the first ones are from the fall. And some of these have already been used in, yeah, some of these have already been used in some advertising materials that we've done. You gotta love a green bin barn bar. And, I'm not saying these were like the all-time favorite pictures. All the pictures were really good. I just was honestly trying to put together, this is Soldier's Walk, of course, in Arcadia. And those of us, from the area know where most of these pictures were taken. People from out of the area are not going to know which winery that is or which bar that, was or something. There we go. There's a picture from Independence this weekend.
Good weekend for the fishing contest.
Fat tire biking. Fat tire biking. We got a picture of.
That's very popular around here.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but my photographer knew that, and he found somebody. I think he knew somebody that does it up here. So cross country skiing. Got the snowmobiling before the trails closed.
Are they closed right now?
Yep,
When did
as
they
of
close?
6 a.m. yesterday.
Oh, because this is the first time in a long time I've been outside at night and heard snowmobiles,
Yep.
like for every day in a row. It's very,
I like this picture because, you really do. It's, sometimes it's hard to get the terrain, and in a picture. it's just hard to get the perspective on it. But I really like this one because you can see the hills in the
Yeah,
background.
it's really good.
There we go. I think this was probably from your thing up in Strum.
Right.
The little headlamp walk. And more in Independence. There we go. This is the picture I was talking about.
Oh, that is awesome.
There's the ice fishing contest in Strum on Saturday.
Yep. So yeah, so that is,
Those are good.
yeah, those are some pictures from this weekend, which,
Fishing contest one is amazing.
That's a good one, yeah.
Gosh, I love that one.
It looks like we're really developing a pretty good photo library.
we are, yeah.
We
Yeah, I mean,
we got a good
we've-
start on it now.
We've got several hundred pictures, minimum. I mean, we might have 1,000 pictures by the time I get some of these done. And I probably will engage Ben one more time in the spring, early spring, late spring time period to kind of get that, the spring, summer type pictures. But yeah, it's just, as soon as I saw some of these, it's like, yes, I want to use those because it's some fresh photography and it's for the most part people oriented. We did get some landscapes, and we have some drone footage too. He's taken drone footage, just about everywhere, and some of those are just really nice. Just 30-second fly-ins or whatever, especially with some of our landscapes.
And this is the kind of stuff, has multiple uses, just not, magazine ads and stuff, so.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, these are good.
And that's about what I've got for the report here, for my activity report. Anybody have any questions? Bob?
Bob?
I had one in regards to the
Bob? Thank you.
broadband,
Yeah.
both for Audie and you, Dave. What is the coverage of the county right now? I know, Audie, you're on the Tri-County board. Tri-County's always had a pretty good communication thing. What is your coverage in the county? I know it's pretty much most of the northern part, but I mean, say if you've got 5,000 customers, what is your percentage of people that are hooked up to internet right now, and in the rest of the county that's dead? What are you working at?
Well, the TCC served the original phone districts
Yeah.
have got fiber to them all. That was done like, they started 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, we've had that for a while.
Yeah. And then they expanded at the same time to the businesses like Ashley and the banks and hospitals, and now they've gone into our townships, Naples down. Now we're thinking they did some of Arcadia. They're thinking of doing more in Arcadia now. It's tougher to get in those because, like he says, if they're served 20 by 80 or 80 by 20 on copper, the government won't give you that grant because they're already being served, or they can reach that 100 by 20 on copper. So it's tough to get in with fiber, but they are exploring to go more into. I think the customer base for internet is really growing. That's almost becoming the staple of TCC now, because as you know, the phone service is dwindling off, and the internet is priority.
People are cutting the cord on
Right.
cable.
And they're slowly growing in different areas now, Robbie. We're looking into Trempealeau's at one of the big expansion points, that they're looking at now. I think they're working on a grant for them down there. They were thinking of Whitehall, but these are like 6-7 years, Blair, 5 or 6 years down the line, because of the fact that they already have some kind of a internet service there, but it's all copper, not fiber.
So in other words, 90% of the county that has internet in it, it's served by Tri-County Telephone?
I would say that has fiber, yes. Yeah, yep.
So pretty much
That's a
the
good
southern part of
statement.
the county is what they're looking at to finish.
Yeah, yep. And we've been expanding down there already. So they have some fiber down there already. So it's kind of like a work in progress all the
Right.
time. It just keeps
Right.
One day
growing.
at a
You
time.
do a little bit here, and then, okay, we'll go over this way, and then do a little bit there, and so it's always evolving.
It
But,
took them a long time to get all the fiber done, and I feel bad, there were some people who said they didn't want it. and now they're sorry they said that.
But, yeah, and if the fiber was past you, then they can tap into it,
Yeah.
But, yeah, the people who get it are really happy with it, the speeds and the reliability of it. That's the thing about fiber, is that you have your trouble call tickets drop by 70%, because the weather doesn't affect it so much, when you get that really cold weather, that copper just shrinks, and then you have more issues with the equipment. It just seems to be a lot better reliability with fiber than you have with copper.
There are some dead areas around here where you maybe get one half of a bar on your phone. But I've noticed just driving the county that even going south from Strum to Trempealeau, you can pretty much have phone service, cell service almost all the way, where it didn't used to be like that. It would be just nothing. So it's improving, but there are still people that have to go to the parking lot of the library to hook their laptop up or whatever, or go to the library if it's open. So yeah, we need,
But that's Verizon and their towers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, I'd say every place we've done it, it's just worked really well for our TCC, so.
any other questions? Okay. You done?
Yeah, I'm ready for the next item.
Okay, good job. Just, be a little more careful. Don't be walking on that foot too soon.
Yeah.
Um,
My wife said, last thing she said was, I won't say because we're on there.
Anything for going dancing on Valentine's.
Number 8, review of 2022 ARPA-funded destination marketing project.
So, as you may or may not recall, I think it was probably late '21, we were awarded, we applied and were awarded an ARPA-funded Destination Marketing Organization, or DMO, grant of $19,000 and change. And that was really to allow for enhanced marketing of the area. These were ARPA funds, so really they were intended to, help tourism destination or visitor destinations sort of recover from COVID, because, in a lot of cases there was a decrease in travel and visitors to areas. As an aside, we suffered less of that decline than, many other communities did. We came through it real well. But who doesn't like free money, right? So what this really allowed us to do was we ended up entering into a contract with River Travel Media, and Amy and Brent from River Travel are here this morning, and they'll give you a little bit more of the details of what was done and what the results were. But it was intended to be able to sort of do a one-time enhanced marketing campaign to promote visitors to Trempealeau County. So to give you a perspective, our annual marketing budget for economic development and tourism is $14,000. And this allowed $19,000 to be spent, on marketing alone. So it's sort of unrealistic to continue at this level, but I think, and I'll say more after the presentation is done, I think it gave us a glimpse of some kinds of things that we can do and some things we'll want to continue to do with some help from River Travel or somebody. And some other things that we can do ourselves. So it was really good in that respect. But I'm going to turn the computer over here to Amy, and they can run through, sort of what was done with the money and what some of the some of the results of the campaign were, and then we can take questions after.
Okay. So if you guys would like to introduce yourself to we're one of the most watched committees on TV, so.
Awesome. Well, I'm Brent Hannaful with River Travel Media.
I'm Amy Gabay. We've been doing River Travel Media. This is our 5th year with working with communities and counties and small businesses. Primarily, we do travel and tourism marketing. That's where our focus is.
Oops.
Oops. Sorry about that. I'm going to have you take us back.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, so we're just, here to talk about the Welcome Mat campaign, which is really a big introduction to the area, using the overarching theme of inviting people to the area, welcoming them here. When we get back onto the presentation, it was one of the best successes that we've had based on the budget and based on the timeline in terms of from year to year with visitors back to the website. So predominantly, there was a lot of digital used, just talking about broadband, marketing directly to cell phones, devices, where people go besides the traditional magazines or things like that with low readership. We could probably skip that part. If you want to jump into this, just kind of a rehash of it, when it ran April 15th, 2022 through December of this year. Basically energizing the Welcome Mat campaign that we started first with the addition of these funds.
And this sort of takes a look at the Google Analytics, which is your website visits. And like Brent had mentioned, this was one of the most successful campaigns we've had as far as, actually it is the most successful campaign we've had, not only in our business, but when we were working in marketing in the private sector and for other companies, we've never seen an increase like this. So, yeah, it was really nice to see.
It's a really wonderful thing to hear.
Yeah, so it was 550% increase of the tourism homepage over the year prior. So fabulous increase of people checking it out. And when you look at the web pages for the tourism related pages on the Trempealeau County's website, there was over 80% increase on all of the pages that people were checking out. So they were also taking a look at the individual pages as well, the hiking, the biking, seeing what was available in Trempealeau. Now, Facebook and Instagram also had really nice numbers. We saw over 100% increase in the Facebook page reach, over 250,000.
And really, a lot of this is about frequency. So just like you see advertising on TV or radio, it's about being frequent with your message. So, besides for the local sort of updates about the trails being closed, besides for the local, events, is really reiterating to people that this site and this social media is about getting you back to the website, to opt into the sweepstakes, to opt into social media, to stay top of mind. Which we used is basically, multiple times a week, at least kind of supplementing the existing content that's going out there to drive those actions with a hard sell.
And when we take a look at the Instagram and Facebook analytics here, one thing I'd like to point out is we do try to target women because women are the people who tend to make the decisions about where the family is going to travel. And we saw that in the followers for Instagram and Facebook for Trempealeau, we had 70% women in both Facebook and Instagram followers. So that was hitting the gender target very nicely.
One thing that we like to do is we like to talk about our clients. And so with you guys, we wrote several press releases, staying top of mind again, kind of patting ourselves on the back about what's going on in this area. This is just a reminder to all the media out there for free earned media to potentially write stories, to think about this area as a destination. Simultaneously, we have a website called River Travel Magazine, where we actually write content, stories about this region.
And one thing that's helpful about that is with the Trempealeau County website, we can't really get blog articles up, and content is king. People are looking for those keywords when they search to find Trempealeau, and we can write those articles that talk about the fishing and the hiking. So if someone types in Trempealeau County fishing, and there's all this SEO behind those articles. So we posted them up on our River Travel magazine. We had some, we also then sent those out in our newsletters. We posted them through our social media, and we had some nice traction on those too. We also did a podcast with Dave. Thank you, Dave, for doing that with us. And that was through River Travel magazine as well. The sweepstakes, you want to talk a bit about the sweepstakes?
Is it on the next page? Oh.
Yeah.
Basically, with a lot of our pieces, we do a sort of sweepstakes. So a sweepstakes is really good for individuals that don't have a lot of time, where we may hit them on the cell phone with digital advertising or social media, to basically click on it to opt in, and then maybe bounce off for a while. So then we could serve them an e-newsletter or retargeting ads to remind them to come back. Moving on, we also have banner ads, which we put out there, again, staying top of mind, also on this site, River Travel Magazine, just to allow multiple different points for people to see, what's this Trempealeau County all about. That was the main concept of the welcome, too, to you guys who are from the area or the people listening. We tend to write to an audience that is, try to think of as people that have never heard of you before. Every instant is an opportunity to welcome people to the area. By sharing, either giving away a sweepstakes or just opting for an easy way for them to opt in to follow along.
We also own Lacrosse Local, which is a regional podcast and content pieces on arts and culture and food and music in the region. And it has a nice focus of people from La Crosse, Winona, Southwest Wisconsin, and we utilize that platform as well. It's one of the things that we like to have as a nice bonus up for our clients, is to put them through our Lacrosse Local as well.
And they have an audience from Chicago, Minneapolis, Milwaukee. And it's another avenue which basically drives traffic to Trempealeau County's website. Same with the River Travel Magazine driving traffic. And again, the search engine optimization, getting people talking about you. It looks good for your SEO for people when they're looking for a vacation.
And having those links from Lacrosse Local and from River Travel Magazine to Trempealeau County also increases your SEO, that you have sites that are well approved by Google that are linking to you. So it's important to link out. It's also important to have people linking to you. For print advertising, we had suggested on Wisconsin Outdoors for the print avenue, simply because these are available at all the Quick Trips for free. People can pick them up. He prints like 100,000 of them. They're very popular, and when it comes to print advertising, we feel on Wisconsin Outdoors is probably one of the best bangs for your buck that you're going to get. So there was, you could see a few of the pieces that were put out, and we focused on that welcome mat and exploration and giving people the information to get back to the website for more information.
And again, like that for the smaller budgets, just hearing the the 14,000 number and being 19, this also gives you the frequency. So if you're spending a big chunk of money for one ad and one magazine, this piece at probably the same rate, you get in there 3, 4, 5 times. E-newsletters, again, staying top of mind, reminding people why you're there. They don't have to be intensive, but just kind of an update of what's going on, from focusing on to the fishing, to the shopping, to the accommodations, to the historical aspects of the area. Again, it's a good reminder to drive people back to make that decision for you.
And a lot of these things kind of work very well in tandem together. So the sweepstakes that are pushed out through the social media and through the e-newsletters and through the website gather more emails that are people who are interested in coming to Trempealeau County, because they have to come here to get that sweepstakes prize. It's not something that we mail to them.
And people's, for whatever reason, people are more sort of locked in with their emails. They don't want to give it out. So if someone actually gives you your email and makes you realize like that's the next step to ending the, to getting them to actually make that purchase, if this was a store or anything else.
We've seen some really good success with our sweepstakes. It's very powerful in gathering in the correct type of email addresses, the people who are engaged with you.
Let me just add. So I'm sure we had people entering the sweepstakes from Trempealeau County, but the person who won it, I think, was actually from Mauston. So, somebody from out of the area, and that included a gift certificate from Garden of Eden down in Galesville, and Beatles threw in a nice gift certificate, and then Oak Park Inn right here in Whitehall threw in a couple nights stay in one of the carriage suites. So, and that, it seemed very popular. So we do like that idea, and as Brent was saying, it adds to this email list that we have at our disposal going forward too, to be able to push out information.
Sorry, go ahead. No. I'm sorry. And just to kind of carry on with Dave's response there is, you want the locals to share that message. It's like word of mouth. You want them to enter. You want them to share that on social media. So it doesn't get your whole community involved, spreading the word of Trempealeau County for sure.
I had a lot of people telling me, it's like, I entered.
Awesome.
I did.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Do it. That's the whole point.
And you'll see there's a big jump between total contestants and entries because people get extra entries if they share this on their Facebook, if they share this on their Instagram. If they
Visit the
come to the website and they take a look at the website, they get extra entries. So you want to see a high entry level because those are people who are actively engaged.
Right. It popped up on Instagram and Facebook like every day, the sweepstakes, until
Nice.
it was over. So that was it's using social media has really been a boom for us, I think.
It did do very well, just moving right into social media advertising. So the impressions were almost 300,000. You can see a click-through rate of about 3,000 for that, which was nice. The reach is the number of people, the impressions is how often they've seen it. So that is that repetitiveness again. It's like an online billboard or a billboard on your phone that people are viewing again and again, and you want them to have this consistent feeling that something's going on in Trempealeau. What's happening in Trempealeau? I'm seeing this all the time. I want to check this out.
And then also, just like Dave was saying earlier, using those images that include people in it, with a destination here, as you can see with the hiking trail there, which is from the area.
We can't see the last one. That must be kayaking.
That's fishing.
It was
Oh,
off the-
fishing. Okay.
Yeah.
I just see water and maybe something that might have been a kayak. Okay.
Responsive display ads, so that's basically on your phone, on any device, on your computer. That can be anywhere from if you're checking your email to YouTube. Basically, again, trying to drive people back to the website to create an action, to follow you on social media, to follow your newsletter, to enter the sweepstakes. Again, staying top of mind. Great click-through rates on those, but also it's that billboard, it's that frequency that you guys always need to remind people, even though you might not think so, to remind people maybe every other day that they need to check out Trempealeau, what it's all about.
And these responsive display ads, they follow your target market. So I saw it on thesaurus.com, or on WKBT.com when they shared their Google ads on there as well. So you pop up all over the place. You could be on New York Times website because Google display ads are on so many websites, and it just follows that target to show them no matter
Yeah.
where they're at.
They came to your website once, they'd start getting these ads.
Yep. So the in-stream advertising pre-roll, we created a sort of slideshow video that can be put out on YouTube. YouTube is the second most popular search engine on the internet, so it's great to have some advertising through there. We had almost 500,000, over 400,000 impressions again, some great amount of views. Views are more of like a length of time on it, where impressions would probably be within the first 5 seconds. So that was what the in-stream advertising pre-roll was. Is there any more input on that you can share?
And with all this stuff, we're going after those drive markets, which is the traditional, the Milwaukee, the Chicago, the Minneapolis, those areas that are within the 4 to 5 hour drive range. So all these ads are being served to those individuals.
Wisconsin Public Radio, we've had a great relationship with them over the years, and with Trempealeau, again, they gave us a fantastic package with a nice price break to get a good amount of ads for the cost. They're really awesome to work with. So on here, you can sort of see we did some digital ads through them. That's what that little ad in the corner is. That's kind of cut off a bit. And then they had regular ads through the Ideas Network, where they talked about the support also comes from. So the web tiles and the radio ads kind of worked in tandem.
And that's for people, passing through. We found that public radio is actually a good resource for people actually driving through the state. I know as a listener myself, I do it in every state that I go through, so it actually catches people, and it's statewide.
It's a good target audience of people who have a little bit more expendable income and availability to travel. So that kind of wraps up what that DMO grant campaign was and the successes that we saw with it. We felt the numbers were really
Amazing.
well. This was a really fun analytic program to put together to do that report, because it was like, ooh, look at that. Ooh, look at that. We were really happy with it.
I guess I'll just say a few words. Of course, I started in March, And so when I started, it's like, here you go, Dave, here's the grant we've got with River Travel Media. And I just have to say that I appreciated, all the assistance from Brent and Amy. I kind of jumped into it and said, okay, I guess we're working together, and kind of like catch me up to speed and explain some of the things that you're planning to do. And during the course of the year too, Amy and Brent were very helpful too as we started, getting some of our own photography done, and with looking for some opportunities to update some of our print advertising and that kind of thing. They helped design some ads that we're now going to be using. So I guess I would say it this way: it was really nice to have somebody to just sort of handle this stuff with the tourism, especially at this higher level, as I started into the job. So what I found during the course of the year is, again, there's no way we can duplicate that $19,000 package. So with what we do have to spend, or that we might want to allocate from this year's $14,000, what are our priorities going to be? In fact, we're going to have a discussion after this meeting about that and try to come up with something for 2023. But I definitely have found some value in having somebody outside help coordinate things. I mean, I will tell you, there were many times that Amy and Brent were saying, Dave, we want to get something out. What can you help it? Can you give us this information? And with all the demands of the job and balancing tourism and economic development, I guarantee you, I would not get to things with the same regularity that these guys are. Because I think when you wake up in the morning, it's like, what can we do today to get this, to push that? And that's the kind of support, that you need to make something successful. So.
When you looking at outcomes, you couldn't have better outcomes than what happened. And, there's still some ARPA funds we could maybe carve out some money.
Yeah, and we're always. I know Amy and Brent are keeping their eyes open for grant opportunities and stuff. But yeah, and so am I. Because there's potentially money that we could apply for through Travel Wisconsin, that kind of thing. This is not the one I'm looking for. Hang on a second.
I'm still kind of blown away at the numbers. It's totally amazing.
Yeah, and when we started getting some of those numbers, it didn't mean a lot to me, and then kind of explained them, what those meant and stuff. And yeah, we're getting outstanding value. I think we got outstanding value. I was just going to show this. So this is an example. As I said, as the year evolved, that welcome mat, welcome to Trempealeau County. The welcome mat was the campaign that we started with, and didn't want to change that midstream, but in terms of starting to put some of those pictures that we got in the fall, into the integrate that into our marketing and stuff like that. We updated, and this is what I'm saying. Amy and Brent helped create. This is one of our print ads. I'm also using it as our cover photo right now on Facebook, because I think it just really illustrates a lot of what we have to offer, and it's very, the pictures are very welcoming. They capture some of that, beautiful scenery, and of course integrates the new slogan, Traverse Trempealeau County, which is really intended to convey a message to people to explore the entire county.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, the colors just jump out at you there, the variety of colors, and that glass of wine looks really good.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments or from
No, it looks
anybody
like-
out there? Dawn? Dawn,
Yeah,
did
are
you?
you able to?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, no, I was just complimenting. It looks like really good work. I like what I see.
Me too. I love it.
The numbers are very impressive, I'll tell you that, from considering to reach that many people for that much money, that is a good return on your investment.
Yeah. Good work, everyone. Bob, do you have a question?
Yeah, with your numbers and everything, it looks good. People are searching and they're interested, but how does that combine, like, the people that actually come here with, have you seen a rise in sales tax?
We were the only county during the COVID where we lost the least amount of money of all 72 counties, and it was like 1.7%. Trempealeau County did excellent during COVID.
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago.
Bob,
I know,
So
but
it-
it's still, the
What I'm getting at
sales
is,
tax,
it
sales
has a-
taxes are still
Yeah,
up.
and Travel Wisconsin issues, I think, early April, or sometime in that April time period, they'll issue their report on, tourism spending, throughout the 72 counties. And, I think those numbers will be really interesting to look at for 2022 for Trempealeau County compared to 2021. The caution is, of course, COVID, and this is going to be in a lot of measurements, not just in tourism spending, but COVID really did a number, on spending and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of hard to. I mean, I would expect that even if we had not done this kind of campaign, our numbers for 22 would have probably been up from 21. But not as much. But how do you break that out? But it's an excellent thing. I think what we need to do is get to a point where we can track, like, what are some of the outcomes of this, and I am very curious to get to, some of the lodging businesses to see if, room reservations were up this year. I expect they probably were, and see if we can get to a point where it's like we can track that back to, like, did people call your hotel, because they discovered Trempealeau County through Facebook or something like that. But we're not quite there yet in terms of being able to exactly tie that back. But when those tourism numbers come out in April, we'll put something together for May for you guys.
And I thought I had the county board stuff from last month, but sales tax was higher than expected, so, for our county. I think that's always been higher than expected. We do well.
Hey, Dave, one of the things you might want to do is make sure that the campgrounds are adding that, where did you hear about us from? Because especially, you mentioned COVID, obviously campgrounds were, because of the distancing thing, actually did well during COVID. So I think that, and that has continued to kind of go along because everybody has additional RVs that they now need to use. So I think that definitely has helped with your sales tax, for sure.
Yeah, RV sales went through the roof in 20 and 21. You couldn't even get one.
Yeah. Well, now you can.
Yeah. Any other questions? You guys, thank you so much. It was beautiful. I loved it.
You're welcome, and thank you guys. This was our second year working with Trempealeau County, and we really enjoy working with you guys, and it's so much fun to see those kind of numbers come through and see the success of it. So
Yeah,
we're happy to
great,
work with you.
great work. Okay, I believe you're next. Number 9, review of Petrick Park Master Plan and Implementation Schedule, Mr. Reed Lally.
You bet. Hopefully we see some Petrick Park on some of those advertisements, Dave, just so you know. I'll be laying the law down on you for that, so.
And of our new prairie, it's going to be really beautiful, I think, this year.
It should
That'll
be.
be the 4th year?
Yeah, seeded down in November of 19.
Yep. So
Last year's the first year we let it
Our prairie
grow.
restoration should be awesome down there because it
Yeah.
was really beautiful last year too.
We'll make sure to get some good pictures of that this year when it's full
Yeah.
bloom. I'm going to share my screen too. Basically, over the past year, we've developed a master plan for the park, and now with implementation, we're into the implementation stage now, so I've put together a timeline. Let's see here. Oh, you're looking, okay. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Hopefully this gets up on the stage here. Perfect. So obviously with implementation starting now, we need to develop a timeline and start getting more specific with, what we're going to be doing, like actual, design plans, actual engineering of what's going to happen with the rec pond. Let's see here. I'm going to zoom this. How's that for size on there? I could just maybe zoom in a little bit on this part here. So throwing together this timeline of over the next year of how I foresee things happening with the master plan implementation is more or less starting out with developing a request for proposal for a specific site plan, a survey of the park, the rec pond maintenance and operating costs, and actual design construction plans for the rec pond. Obviously, the master plan at first was, just very high level and more or less just showing ideas on there. But now we actually have to come up with a specific site plan that's going to account for future development. A couple of things that I've, thought about, working with Mike and some of the other, I work with the snowmobile clubs as well, as maybe trying to establish a snowmobile trail that runs through Patriot Park, and it might be a great place for people to stop, park their trucks and trailers that travel in from somewhere else, and then, access the trail system through that. But obviously, if you're going to plan something like that, which isn't in the, near future, you want to account for parking lot space, where that trail is going to be, which actually can kind of lead me into, this is kind of, I shouldn't say off topic, but the potential bridge in the master plan going across the Trempealeau River could be funded via the snowmobile system, assuming that there's trails there, and it would be 100% funded. So it's going to be some work on the end of the snowmobile clubs, working with private landowners in the area to get something coming from 93 across the river through the neighbors to our east. Whether that's possible or not, we'll find out. But it's a possible avenue for a bridge. But things like that are potential down the line need to be taken into account when we're planning the location of ponds and playgrounds now. So that's why having the survey, of all the buildings, the campsites, current roads, and actually having it to scale is something that I think the park should invest in. Obviously, this would be working through an external company designing this. Another thing is taking into account the annual, the large events that go on there, is obviously that the newly donated area is primarily used right now for parking for the arts. Obviously, with the pond going in there, having the size and placing the pond within that is very important. Just from a planning perspective, you'd hate to, with limited amount of space, you want to maximize the land that we have to its greatest potential. So, it'd be a crime to not have it done correctly and put in in the right spot and right proper design and have a portion of ground that you can't really do anything with. So, basically, assuming the committee is okay with me proceeding with this, I would be developing this request for proposal, putting it out there in the next week or so to come, week or two ahead of time, and then, maybe start getting some bids coming in from some consultants for the design plans and whatnot. So that's basically where I'm seeing things happening, this month here in February. Does anybody have any questions on that side of things to start with?
No, but I like the snowmobile idea, parking.
Yeah,
Especially, like this year, snowmobiling has been way better than in the past.
It has been. And, every year the snowmobile program in the state funds various projects, and that is solely funded through trail passes across the state.
Right.
So there's this pot of money there every year, and, the success rate's been very high in us applying for things. Now, I get it, the bridge over the Trempealeau River is a massive project that's going to, take a lot of research and time to implement,
Right.
but if that could be funded via that program, assuming the clubs could get some trails going there, I think it would do wonders for the park, especially in wintertime.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's something we've talked about forever,
Right.
to have that bridge.
And funding would
between the
always
two
have been a
sides.
challenge, and if we could maybe get this funded through that,
Right.
it's another avenue, let's put it that way.
Right.
So I think it's important to take that into account when we're dealing with the actual site plan.
So, Reed, I just got a question for you. You want to get permission to just go after bids for somebody to draw it up to
Correct.
scale, but who's gonna tell them how big are you gonna make that pond, and where are you gonna put it? And is that all gonna fall onto you, or?
I will be working closely with whoever gets the bid, assuming that we get, approval to accept whatever proposal they go forward with.
Tentatively, in your brain, what are you anticipating, for a size of a pond on a 6-acre plot? 3/4 of an acre?
I was thinking acre.
Acre?
That's what I was thinking.
So, I mean, you got some room for expansion, for some outbuildings, stuff
You
like
bet.
that. But I mean, you gotta have a plan.
Exactly.
Kinda in your head, you go
Right.
out there and nobody's bothering you and look through the windshield and say, well, okay, this might work here and stuff like this, and dabble something on a napkin or something
Sure.
like that.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. I'd be sitting down with kind of what we're thinking from, the county's perspective, what we'd like to see. And definitely taking into account future buildings right there, because there's definitely going to be shade structures around there. It'd be really cool to have another building there, a bathroom facility there, maybe some walk trails around the pond. Is fencing going to be involved there? Is the access road going to be coming into the park and immediately hooking south? I mean, just different ways to access it. And
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What we're really looking here, what we did with the master plan last year was conceptual, This is kind of the direction we want to go in, and things weren't measured out. This site plan would be kind of surveyed in, so that you're taking into account slopes, you're actually, knowing that pond is going to be whatever number of feet from the main access road, so you have space for those buildings and parking, so that essentially it gets you close to be, because if you shift the pond, if you place the pond in, say, a location too far to the south, well, then you lose space for that bathhouse building or whatever, so we really need to have specific measurements, to the inch to lay this thing out so that we're using the land efficiently in it. So I think, in surveying the property, there's, you gotta know where your boundaries are to make this all happen.
Have you guys ever went out there with a transit and, looked at your grade and that? Because evidently, you're not gonna build a pond on the highest terrain. I mean, you're gonna look for the lowest spot, because that means less earthwork.
I'm sorry, in the master plan too, we talked in that area to have a berm around the front of where the pond would be, with trees planted, and kind of using the dirt that you dug up for the pond to build a berm, so that it, you're not sitting there and looking right out at the highway and trucks and hearing all of that, to add to the aesthetic beauty of the park, right?
absolutely. No,
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain as to, from what I've seen, a lot of these ponds, they use a lot of that fill to just build up
Right,
to
right.
create the hole deeper, so there is less movement of dirt. But
Right.
yes, that's in the master plan
Okay.
as an option, and definitely for like the main entrance sign.
Right, right.
There again, this is where we're getting specific with it.
Yeah, I mean, just
You
think, how we can just have that entrance be so welcoming and pretty, and,
Right.
people drive by and say, oh my God, look at this beautiful park, and, let's drive right in here, instead of going to Eau Claire or wherever.
For sure. To answer your question, Bob. Or,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Dawn, is that you? Okay, sorry.
It is. But go ahead and answer Bob's question. I didn't hear it, so.
Okay, Bob's question was, have we been out there like as staff with the transit? No, we have not. There is definitely terrain though on that newly donated ground. If you notice, it's definitely higher to the south and to the west. This is where the survey will come in as well. I'm helping with that, and then the best location for where it will go to minimize the amount of dirt work.
So then my question or comment, I guess, is if we're doing an RFP, which I think, what did you say that is, a request for proposal?
Proposal, correct.
Are they, I guess wondering, would that request for proposal include a multitude of different options that are available to us to choose from?
Yes, it would. It's not like we're gonna have just one site plan or design come in and then it's yay or nay. There'll be multiple. It's kind of like the master plan. They came up with A, B, and C. It was presented to the committee, presented to the public, and we would proceed with whatever we feel is the best, most cost-effective way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a work in progress, I would say, as it'll ever evolve as you see, when you see the dimensions laid out, you can say, well, this ain't gonna work here. And so I think it's a good start. You gotta have something to go off.
Right. I mean, I see going out there, this is how I kind of envision it, going out there with whoever we hire, and like, there's going to be stakes in the ground and, you know, get more of a visual of what's going to be happening, you know, hands-on.
Does the county have an engineer on staff or an engineering firm, you know, that we're not going into this blind? That at least if you've got somebody on staff, he kind of knows what you're working with in the county?
I don't think we do. You know, I've spoken with Al over at the Highway Department to see what resources they could offer. I have had several Zoom meetings with consultants, the same ones that developed the master plan, as well as a few other ones that are associated with lake and pond construction. So that's where we're at right now with consultant firms.
You're gonna bid that out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I know there's a couple of local ones here that are pretty reasonable compared to the big name ones. I think there's a guy in Blair even, Mikey Warner uses him once in a while. So, yeah, it's good to get quite a few estimates.
Sorry. I'm guessing we'll get more than 2 bids to do this project.
I would think so. Obviously, we
Yeah.
can't, you know, show favors and send it
Right.
to specific people, but we're going to do a good job of advertising.
Just put it out there and see what comes in.
Right. And so that's where we're at as of right now, is just developing that and then just seeing, you know, where these bids come in at, and then we'll get
So big picture, Reed, I think what you're looking at when we look at this thing, we're doing essentially the planning and design for the park and the pond in 2023. And I think to prepare and then have construction plans ready to go to bid out, in the fall of 2023, and to have construction of the pond in 2024.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yes, it's, you know, obviously this is going to be a fluid calendar of events, but with the 3-year time limit, it'd be nice to have all of this planning process out of the way this year, starting the bids late in the year.
Sounds good. Any other questions, comments?
We need a motion to start the planning of this, don't you?
No.
I don't believe we need actual,
Well, yeah, we want your blessing to move forward with the RFP process.
Oh, we don't, it's not,
It's on the agenda, we have,
review, it's the action.
yep, no action.
well, there
I
was-
don't think we need an action for you to send out the,
no,
to
it's
get
one thing.
bids. Once you get the bids, then we'll.
Then you definitely need
yeah.
approval, obviously.
I think a long time ago, we've
That's right.
given you the go-ahead to start implementing the plan.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the RFP moving along right now.
If we, I don't know. I think we're good.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we have your direction, but we're, obviously, sending out RFP, we're not approving, it's not approving anything. It's when we bring those back, that's when you
Right.
guys get your action, but.
Right. It's kind of like, you don't need our blessing to ask for a grant, but once the grant is accepted, then there's a resolution to add it to your budget.
Right.
So, I think we're good. If not, someone will tell me. Right. And I think we gave you the go-ahead to start working on this a while ago.
We did, and I have been working on it,
Yeah.
and I know there was some question at the last meeting, though, about where we were at with that
Yeah.
process and
Okay.
whatnot, so that was kind of just giving a timeline of events here,
I
so.
think you're good to go. Any more questions on the master plan?
No, but I do thank you for bringing that. I believe that was actually something I had wanted to learn a little bit more about, so I appreciate that.
Sure, no problem. You're welcome, Don.
Any more from you, Mr. Reed?
On this agenda item, no.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to number 10, Parks and Environmental Specialist update.
Yeah, I'll just go over a little bit more of I've been up to these days since the last meeting, obviously working, on this, the planning process here and meeting with consultants, but, snowmobile program, obviously full swing, attending those meetings once a month, lots of grooming and maintenance entries coming into snares, the program through DNR, so approving with them, working, with the snowmobile club, coming up with where we're going to be applying for grants for culvert repairs and bridge repairs. There's a couple of places on the trails I visited late last fall. And I'm going to go in and see how they are again, in the coming days, take some pictures of the trails going through them and whatnot. So be applying for some of those grants coming up. Those are due the 15th of April. All last week, I shouldn't say all last week, I attended a parks conference for 3 days last week. It's the second year that I attended the conference. It was very informative and learned a lot about grant writing and, managing, municipal and county parks. Everything from equipment, there was a trade show there, to dealing with various aspects of reservations and basically everything encompassing campgrounds and public spaces. So it was very good, and I'm planning on presenting at that conference next year. I'm thinking of doing something involving the installation of prairies. There had not been last year they kind of touched on it one session that I went to, but this year there was nothing at the conference involving that, and that's something that I've got quite a bit of experience with even prior to working at the county. So kind of excited about that. Shelter reservations, they're starting to fill up for the spring, obviously with graduation parties and whatnot coming. So, our, camp spots working well. I am getting the occasional call about people that are just wondering, who are used to just doing it the old way. And so they just call and say, how can I do this online and whatnot? So it seems to be going good. I'm just seeing reservations coming in, which is great. It's nice to be moving away from the constant manual entry and whatnot. So that's going smoothly.
I have to tell you that the couple of emails I got where people weren't able to do something I directed them to, their emails were kind of cute, how, I got on right at midnight. It's so people have that in their head. It's like a fun ritual that.
It is. And
I don't want us to
that midnight thing, it went smooth, but basically the only people that were dissatisfied are the people that didn't get a site. So, it was fair to everybody. It was the same for everybody. Couple of things that I'm going to be working with CampSpot on over the next year to, straighten out. But obviously we don't know, we don't have an event like this where it's just filled. So there's really no way to see what we fixed and what we didn't till we go through it again, which will be 11 months from now. So,
Mr. Reed, can you just confirm? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just saying I only got a couple of emails where people were, not figuring things out, and I just forwarded them to Reed and let them know I was sending them on. But they weren't angry.
No.
They understood that.
And I think one of the issues may have been, I think someone said that if they logged in right before midnight but didn't refresh their screen.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Because it wasn't open at that time, so they're sitting there waiting, which I think happened to a lot of people, I'd guess. Yeah. But just
I was
minor
just looking
things.
to confirm, Reed, that you had I had forwarded a few emails about reservations also to you. Just wanted to confirm that you had.
I think I received one, Don, and I know I received one from Eugenie too, but
I think I had sent on
those
two.
issues
I
were
just wanted
resolved.
to be sure you were getting them, so.
Yes, thank you for sending those on.
Yep.
And then probably the last thing I'd like to touch on is I'm working on developing some more interpretive signage for the trail system and around the new prairie and around the park. So that's in the works right now as well, and some informative signage through the highway department just to replace the existing ones we have about paying at the post and whatnot, and the rates have changed. So that's where we're at with that.
Are there any other questions of Reed or comments? Okay. We'll move on to item 11, Parks Groundskeeper groundskeeper positions, compensation, discussion, possible action.
Yes, we're looking at, in 2023, we would like to hire 2 parks groundkeepers position. This is different than in the past. Excuse me. One of the issues is as I was reviewing job descriptions, you could kind of see the parks manager position, which isn't Reed, it's a part-time position in the summer, and then we have a parks groundkeeper position. And you could kind of see how we paid the parks manager position $3 more an hour than the groundskeeper position. But how it functioned, they pretty much did the same job. So it didn't necessarily reflect more responsibility, but it kind of implied that there was supervision there, but it didn't really clearly say it. And so you can kind of see that these 2 job descriptions were really kind of written for the pre-DLM era of managing the park. I think it seems that way. So it really, when we look at how the positions are working in practice, they're pretty much, both positions are doing the same thing, and essentially it's the groundkeeper's role. So for the spring, we would like to hire 2 parks groundskeeper, and then and pay them the same rate. Because some of the things in the park manager position, like working with health department and all these other higher level things, those are really things that Reed does, not the part-time person in the summer. So we're really trying to kind of really get the right roles and responsibilities applied at the park.
And I think you're right. I think there was a time when there was kind of a park, it was before DLM.
Right.
And there was somebody who kind of managed the park, and they were hired through Manpower, and so it was very different. So I think that's a smart idea.
Yeah, so.
So you had issues with this? They had issues out there? Is that why you're changing it?
No, there isn't issues out there. It's working fine, but our job descriptions should reflect
What they're doing.
what we're actually doing. So, if the
Right,
parks
and then the
manager.
pay should be comparable if the work is.
Yeah, if
So
the
you-
parks manager is not supervising the groundskeeper, we shouldn't be hiring a parks manager and paying that person more.
Are you dropping them both down, that one guy down $3, or are you raising the other guy up $3?
We would prefer to raise it up
Raise it
because labor's tough to find. We didn't use all of our labor dollars last year, so there's room for that. But essentially, they're going to be equals, and that's how they've been functioning since Reed's been here, right? Pretty much.
Pretty much.
So what is the rate of pay hourly for those, the position if we moved them both to the additional $3?
$18 an hour.
And the number of hours they typically put in a work week?
During the peak season, 25 to 29. The max they can put in is 29. We
Okay.
do hire them starting typically in March, depending on the weather and snow cover, but those are far less. And then later into the fall, it's far less as well. Sometimes it's only 5 to 7 hours a week.
And this
And
would
so
need
then
to go,
Reed,
this would need to go to Personnel Committee next week, so we need to make a motion and approve this decision.
so Reed, are you managing those 2 workers then, what they're doing and how much time they're spending? Is that your work to manage?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is that, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but these guys get along really good. So you got 2 guys that are equal, they don't mind saying, okay, you do this, I'll do that. But in the future, are you gonna have to address this by putting one guy in charge? And not because of the fact that you won't have 2 people on, that gel like these 2 guys do.
Reed Lally is the one that
Reed
is
would
in
be the
charge. He's
supervisor.
the manager.
But having one of them more in charge later on would make, Reed would have to go out there daily when they're out there. I'm just saying, being devil's advocate here, saying that, the younger generation, they may not get along as well as these guys, and they'll say, well, Reed told you to do it. Well, no, you get paid the same as I do, you do it. I'm just saying, I just don't.
It's Reed's job. That's what he's hired to do.
I know, but he's not
If I
gonna
have
be
to
out
be
there
more-
all the time, that's what I'm saying.
No, but he can be out there enough to.
I'm saying
to-
scenarios could arise. I mean, now I think it'll work fine. I don't have
Yep.
issues with
And
it.
I can't project what will happen in the future. We need to make this work right now and make it make sense.
Reed has the skills to manage those people out there.
I have no
Yeah.
doubt that Reed, it can manage well. I'm just wondering if making them both equal is gonna be an issue down the road. Something to think about. Does bother me.
I agree with Bob. I mean, those two guys get along good. Nobody was any different one another. They didn't have to have somebody watching over their shoulders that, okay, I'm cutting wood today, why aren't you picking it up? You know, they work together as a team. And that,
we have to-
sometimes with people, you have to run a full-time babysitting job.
Yep, you're not wrong, but we have to plan what makes sense from a organizational standpoint. And then the people that fit into that work have to fit into the work the way we ask them to do it. And if they aren't able to, then there's other employment opportunities for them elsewhere potentially. But we have to, our responsibility is to make the plan to make sense for the business and to get the work done. And I think this proposal will do that.
Right, and really, one of them is not a park manager. That's Reed. So
And-
we have to step away. We have to step away from that.
Yeah, because right now, the park manager position, but the job description has that person working with the health department, doing all those things, and that person has not been doing that.
No.
Reed has been doing that, and I feel better about a full-time employee when it comes to doing those higher-level managers. I think a full-time employee that's there year-round is a better fit for those kinds of things. And then the other thing is too, in our park ordinance, which is part of the county code, there's references in that county code to the park manager. Park manager does X, Y, Z. And again, it's this old model that, so we're gonna, at some point here, have to update that county ordinance to reflect that it's Reed that's in charge of doing
Right.
some of these things. So, so at future meetings, we'll be bringing that forward.
Right.
Nobody's arguing at that point. We're just discussing here.
Right.
Different scenarios, so we
Right.
can throw everything out. It's not, like I said right off the bat, I think if they work well together, won't be a problem until down the road.
Right.
So,
And I could,
don't-
potentially, depending on how much activity and things going on at the park, we might have to revise our model again, with activity at the park. We may have to rethink that at some point, depending on what level of visitors we get, day use and whatnot. So,
And you're right, that old model was when there was nobody responsible for what was going on at the park except the park committee. And that's all we did was the park. And you had one person there. There was only one person that was kind of the park manager, and they were hired by Manpower. They weren't even hired by a county. So we abolished that so we could have more control over who was there and what was happening.
And from a fairness standpoint, if we're asking both people to do the same thing, we really should pay them the same.
Right.
That's, yeah. Okay.
I don't
Yeah, just-
anticipate in the future there will be a problem because they're LTEs, and when they're hired, they understand that the person responsible for them is in the Department of Land Management. And this is what they have to do at the park, and if they can't do it,
Right, and I am prepared to become more involved in the direct oversight of them managing, should this happen down the line where there is some issues and whatnot, so.
yeah, and you're the one that understands the health department issues and what,
Right.
Because it got very messy when there was someone there who didn't understand all of that, and we had to bring in, land management people anyway, and so, yeah.
So do you need a motion to?
Yes, Dawn, we do.
So I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the positions as presented by Mr. Kornman.
Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is, what happened to Lori? Is she gone? No, who's on the phone in the bottom? Oh, that's us.
That's Buzz.
No, I think that's us. I think that's us.
I don't know.
Oh, that's 608 number.
Oh. Oh, Jean, are you still on? Jean Galazinski?
Oh, wait, do we have even?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what is your vote on the motion?
Aye.
Okay,
We got a quorum with her, yeah.
all right. So there's four ayes, and Bob, are you voting?
I did.
Oh, yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All in favor? Oh, everybody did vote in favor. So you're on, go for it.
Okay.
It'll go to personnel next week.
Are you gonna advertise since next week, next 2 weeks is March?
Yep, we will after.
After personnel and bargaining.
Okay,
And this does fit the budget?
yep.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing we will, thinking ahead to 2024 with the pond and stuff, the 2024 budget will certainly have to take into account the pond maintenance and other related things. So there could be some needed additional hours depending on how we take a look at that for 2024.
Might have to hire a lifeguard. I don't know.
We'll we have a
worry
lot.
about that.
Yeah, we have a
We have a
lot
lot
of
to
work.
worry
That's what we're gonna be working on.
Okay.
Yep.
Might
Let's
be a big
not
old
co-
cycle that's at your own risk.
I don't think we can do that when it's a county, can we? Well, I don't know. I'm not worrying about that right now.
Swim in the river at their own risk, you don't have lifeguards
Right.
for that. And they swim in the river all the time.
Okay. All righty. Future agenda items. Jean, do you need to be on the agenda to give us an update on what's happening with you and the work you're doing next month?
If you want me to.
Okay. I think we should stay connected to what you're doing. Pretty soon the Great River Road is still very busy. Winter, fall, spring, summer. Any other agenda items? Okay. Our next meeting date.
Actually, I'm
Dawn?
sorry, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Corman, maybe you can update us, or we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting about where we're at with those lots in Trempealeau County.
We received Reed received a email from the village administrator saying that I think nature preserves are a permitted use, although that kind of conflicts with the 8-inch grass limit. So I would prefer getting something in writing to the Pocket Prairie proposals there. I don't think Reed has reached out to the refuge people yet, but we have probably a 90% permission to do prairies on those lots.
I guess for my own clarity, will this issue continue to be managed by ELU or by this PTED team?
Good question. I think it could go both ways. I think once we hear if there's any interest from the refuge people on recreational amenities, if it's just going to be prairies, I guess that would move to ELU. If there's a recreational component, I think the recreational component could come to PTED.
Do you think it would be wise to put this on the agenda on an ongoing basis, just to keep everyone in the loop for updates, or like?
I think if we have information to update, that would be a good time to do it. I guess.
Reed could do it in his,
Yeah, I was hoping to, at some point hear from PTED, or from the refuge people, but we just haven't had a chance to, I don't think Reed's had a chance to reach out to the refuge people yet. That's the second component of this. So I mean, I guess we can continue to have it on as an agenda, and if there's no updates, there's no updates, but,
Yeah,
so
you
we
know,
can do that.
I can reach out to them and give an update at next meeting for sure.
Sounds great, thank you.
We can thank the government for those FEMA lots. And the horrible rules that go with it, that you can't use it for anything. Here they are,
We
here's
might,
this
we might,
land.
we might be able to use it for something quite wonderful for the
Oh,
county in the
I
end.
love the prairie idea, you know, having that be prairie and you can hike through it when it's not underwater, so. Are there any other discussion? Okay, so when is our next meeting date? I don't have a calendar. I don't have my phone. March 7th?
First Tuesday of the month.
Okay. Oh, February and March have the same dates. All right. March 7th, 8:30
Have a
in
good
this
day, guys.
room. It'll almost be spring.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, I gotta go home and relieve my husband of. I know, we just finished that. Now we're back. Did we do okay? Oh, meeting is adjourned at 9. Oh, I'm sorry. Meeting is adjourned at 9. It's not legally done until you say adjourned. 9:59. We are legally done.